Evening at 6 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Next item is approval of the agenda. That the agenda for the council meeting of Monday, November 6, 2023 be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Burton, seconded by Councillor Young. Any discussion on the agenda? I'll call the question. Okay, we're good. Carried. Thank you. Just want to mention that Councillor Campbell has sent her regrets for this evening. And we do have a guest in the audience and probably thousands of followers online, I'm sure.
That's my hair.
Yeah, hair looks good. Item 3 is declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest tonight? Of council? Seeing none, we'll move on to 4 is presentations. There are no presentations. There are no delegations either. So we'll go to 6. 6.1 is council minutes of October 16th. Under item 6.1, will approval of the council minutes. The motion reads that the council minutes dated October 16th, 2023 be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Kirkby, seconded by Councillor McConnell. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Under item 6.2 is approval of the special council minutes. That was our strat planning. The motion reads that the special council minutes dated October 21st, 2023 be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Lockett, seconded by Councillor Burton. Any discussion on those set of minutes? Yep.
I just wanted to thank staff and our presenter. It was a great day. I think working as a team with staff and council was good. And we accomplished a lot that day.
Yeah, it was good.
Yep.
I look forward to, we'll get some more information on that later and a report next month, I think. All right. Any other questions? I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 7 under communications and petitions this evening is the EV Charge Ontario program. CIO Treasurer Matthew Armstrong is going to speak to that item.
So this was issued by the program in October, or sorry, by the province in October. It's a new program, and they're funding businesses, not-for-profits, as well as broader public sector and municipalities and Indigenous applicants. So for businesses and not-for-profits, they fund up to 50%, and then for municipalities and Indigenous applicants, it's 75%. Currently, we have 11 level 2 chargers in the town that the town has installed over the last few years for the new Elan Chartrand Community Centre, and they're just about to be brought online. Not quite functional yet, but they're all installed. We have 2 here at Town Hall, 2 on Water Street by the Lighthouse, 2 at the Clock Tower parking lot, and 1 at the Leo Boyven Community Centre. This gives an opportunity for other groups, not just municipalities, to install them. And I believe there's already a couple of chargers at the Ultramar, and the new McEwen will have quite substantial chargers being at 200 kilowatts, which really shortens the amount of time in which to take to recharge down to 10 or 15 minutes. So not unlike what you would be, how long it would take you to get gas. So just wanted to bring this forward. RSL did reach out, and this was one of the items that they mentioned in their annual general meeting that they would like to explore in terms of getting more into. And this might be a great opportunity for them to explore that opportunity. So at this point, not really anything for the town to do unless council would like us to explore doing more. But I think also encouraging local businesses, not-for-profits, as well as RSL to look at putting that infrastructure in is a great opportunity as well.
Thank you, Matthew. Any questions for Matthew? Councillor McConnell?
Not a question, Mayor Shankar, but a suggestion. I read through this, and this is a great program. It's open to eligible public and private sector applicants. I just circled that here, as Matthew pointed out, but I'd like to see the town take kind of a proactive approach here and have Dana perhaps take a tour around and see whatever businesses or what other businesses might be able to take advantage of this and approach them with the package and some explanation. I'm thinking of Riverside Pontiac Buick, which is right on the corner of the 401. With that huge parking lot, seems to be an obvious choice to me. And I'm sure there's others that other people can think of as well. Giant Tiger maybe with the big area to the south. Anyway, I would like to see us have Dana, this is economic development, take a look at this and approach whoever she feels it might benefit. And if it benefits the town, then obviously it benefits everybody if we get people stuff. It's going to be more demand as time goes on.
So I know that that's a good suggestion, and I like that's good thinking. The only concern I have, Matthew, and we had talked about this a bit earlier, was Hydro One. Is there enough power on the grid to put like a level 3, that 200 kilowatts and above in those areas?
It really depends on the location as well as the number that you're doing. And so that we would suggest anyone that's looking into this to reach out to RSL, and they'd be happy to meet with the prospective individual and really talk about what that possibility is. So it all depends on transformer size, on availability of power, the location of it, things like that, and also the number that you're doing. So are you putting in 1 or 2? That's probably doable in comparison to 20 or 30, which that's a much different conversation and requires perhaps additional infrastructure from Hydro One to come into the town.
Great, thank you.
Matthew, is there any way to know how much the ones that we have in town are used?
We'd be happy to provide that in a future report, and we can show you exactly when they're used, how they're used, and that sort of thing.
I know that up at the gas station, there's always somebody there. But I don't know if it's just when I'm there but they are used. I just don't know.
Certainly.
Any other questions for Matthew?
I just thought of the Bruce made me think of, it seems to me, and I stand to be corrected here because I may be wrong, but when we first brought those chargers online, we weren't charging for electricity, I don't believe. Given the fact that there are other businesses in town now and we're gonna have more coming online, are we gonna get to a point, or I guess that's a council decision, are we gonna start charging, and we're gonna start charging the same as everybody else? Where are we with that? Was there a time limit that was set? I can't remember now.
So it was initial for the first 3 years that we wouldn't charge, and we would review at that point. The one major difference is we have level 2 chargers, and so you're talking 8 to 12 hours before you're charged and ready to go, versus level 3 chargers where you're talking less than an hour. So it's definitely a more convenience factor versus just being in the neighborhood and being able to top up. So, but certainly happy to bring that back for council to reconsider.
You get more?
When is the 3 years up?
That was gonna be my question.
3 years is up. Well, I think we still have 1 more year, but I can confirm that.
That was my question too.
Perhaps then maybe say 6 months ahead of that, we could bring that back to council for discussion.
Yep, that sounds good. Make a note of that, Matthew. Thank you. Anyone else? Good,
I did my research over the weekend.
all right. I don't even know if Riverside, do they sell electric vehicles?
No, but it would make sense that eventually they will.
Eventually they will.
And I was thinking the break at the edge of the 401.
No, I agree.
It just kind of
They've
would
got the
make
room.
sense.
They've got lots of room.
Yeah.
I'm on the floor one.
Okay, that's good for that one. We're gonna go on to item 8, is consent reports. Under consent reports, we have the information package. Is there anything anyone would like to see pulled from the information package?
I would.
Oh, one second. Just pull it up there, yep.
I wanted to take out the, MPP from Waterloo, where she was discussing the, till death do us part, Bill 21, I think it is.
It's Bill 21.
Oh, yeah. I see it. Okay. You got that, Lindsay? Anyone else? No, that's good. All right, so the recommended motion reads that all items listed under the consent reports minus that one, Bill 21, section of the agenda be accepted as presented. Is that good to go like that? Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Kirkby, seconded by Councillor Rocket. All in favor? Great, thank you. 9 is committee reports, and there are no committee reports this evening. 10 is the mayor reports, and I always forget this, but I'll just go through it quickly then. So I tried to do it chronologically. Since our last meeting, we had strat planning, which was thank you to Councillor Burton for bringing that up. We did have quite a few members of the public there, which was great to have. I even noticed that one of the members wrote an article in the paper about it, so that was good. And then Suzanne Gibson was our mediator, and she did a fantastic job, I thought. After that, we ran down to First Choice, had a 25-year anniversary. We met Member of Provincial Parliament, Steve Clark was there waiting for us, which, thank you for doing that, Mr. Clark. Later on that week, we had Glitz had an anniversary, their first anniversary. Followed by that week, we also had a lovely little 8-year-old named Adelaide Grant who had her family and friends had purchased a donation by the town for Mayor for the Day at the Laughs at the Leo, so under the previous council. And I think maybe having seen our Slater Doran Mayor of the Day may have reminded them. So she came in on a Friday and we had a nice presentation from the Legion. We did the first poppy. So her and I both got the first poppies of this year. And we had a little tour of the building, thanks to staff that were very accommodating. We had a nice gift bag and everything. And she got to wear the chain of office, even though I don't wear it that often. I think Slater and Adelaide have worn it more than I've worn it. But it was a lot of fun, and I think she couldn't wait to go back to school to have show and tell, and talk about it. And she had some great questions. I think someone asked her what would be her best thing to be as mayor. And she said, listening to people and answering people. And I was like, this is from an 8-year-old, She's smarter than most politicians. So I learned something from her anyway, but that was a very nice morning. Just last week, we went down to the clock tower and the Legion had a special event where they've made one banner this year, just because of timing and everything. And Mr. Reg McIlvena is on that banner, and we had it at the clock tower for a couple of days, but he requested that it be on a light pole, so it is on a light pole near the cenotaph, and he's much happier about that. Who's gonna argue with a war hero, no, whatever you want, Mr. McIlvena, so we did that. I know the Legion is working on having more of them for next year, so look for that in our downtown. Not like Brockville, but we'll have a few up, which will be nice. November 1st was our pumpkin parade that we've had now for 5 or 6 years.
I don't know when that's.
I don't know either. 7 years. Wow. So we always have it the day after Halloween, and it's a nice way for people to get rid of their pumpkins, and then we display them. And each year it grows and grows. This year was fantastic, and my hat goes off to Samantha Jordan Miller and Bob Dixon, because Bob Dixon's crew and probably Sam's crew went around the town and picked up all these pumpkins. And we're talking 560 pumpkins. Wow. So, if you think 10 pumpkins to a truck, That's 56 trips, you know? So good on them. A lot of behind the scenes work, a lot of really neat displays this year, like the rock and roll skeleton guy. And we had a huge skeleton on the lighthouse.
Yes.
That was scary, but it was good. We had some vendors, popcorn, hot chocolate. It was, and a great band. Oh, what's the name of that band?
Cajon and the Hollow Bodies.
Cajon, I was gonna get it wrong, right? Cajon and the Hollow Bodies, they were fantastic and at the amphitheater. So all reports was it was a great night had by everyone. And then the last two things I have here was Augusta had their Business of the Year breakfast, which was well attended. Congratulations to all the businesses that were nominated and won. And then on Friday, we had our groundbreaking for the water tower, which was another nice event. And I called it a groundbreaking, although it looks like we're about a month late, but you know, that's what happens in municipal and federal, trying to, keep everyone happy by getting our words straight and everything like that. So it was a busy 2-3 weeks for all of us here in council. So now we're going to move on to item 11, which is outside boards, committees, and commissions. We're going to try something a little different. We're going to go around the table, and I'm going to start with Councillor Young, because you look the most prepared.
We're excited,
Or excited.
right?
I guess my report would be about Riverwalk Wonderland. So that's going to be, hopefully become a tradition, but we're looking for sponsors and vendors for the weekend of December the 2nd, December 3rd, December 4th. It'll be held down at the Prescott pop-ups. And so we're hoping to make it a great event. If you have anything, we're looking for decorations. And then, or else you could sponsor with a cash donation. So you can get a hold of Justin or Dana or myself, but we're really looking forward to it.
Thank you. Sounds like.
Not sure I can talk. I seem to be having a problem. My only activity other than what everybody else attended together was the meeting of the Heritage Society, where we tackled another 5 buildings in town that are on the list that are not actually designated, and we're going through the list that we have in town over the next few months, and we'll decide, well, at least we will make a decision to recommend to council that either it be designated or not, and that decision will be council's, and it's probably going to be coming, well, I would say maybe next fall, I would think. But it's ongoing. It's interesting because we learn more about some of the historic properties in town that maybe we didn't know before. Fraser Lossinger from the Prescott County Historical Society was with us and will be with us going forward, and he's always able to add quite a bit that the Historical Society provides for us in regards to each property. So we will be meeting again later this month, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McConnell. Councillor Lockett?
So, like Councillor McConnell said, everything that everybody else attended. But I also had a meeting with the governance committee of the Board of Health. Their meetings are by Zoom, and so it's like 2.5 hours. There's a lot going on with the health unit, as you can imagine, getting into flu season and people wanting their flu shots and stuff. So they're a source of information for sure. They're doing their staff with the flu shot and the next vaccine. And any board members that are welcome to have it too. But the pharmacies, they have it now, most pharmacies. So it's interesting. And for me, there's a lot to learn on that board.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shanker. Just the same as everybody else. I attended all the events except maybe the Glitz one. But I haven't had a meeting with my board prior between now and then. long story short, I've been around town. I noticed they're doing the street sweeping as far as operations. I talked to the fellas down at the pumpkin parade, just about the setup. And I sent some emails to Matthew just about some inquiries on some traffic lights. So,
Okay, thank you. Last but not least, so you used to go first all the time.
I know, and I appreciate going the other way sometimes, even though I was ready.
I bet you were.
Ready. So I have a few updates. Shakespeare, we are looking at moving our office as soon as possible. We are also in the process of interviewing for our new artistic director. So that's in the works. We have had a lot of interest actually, so that's good. We just recently got a McNeil Foundation grant of $2,600. So we were not expecting that, but that's fantastic. St. Lawrence Lodge, our occupancy rate is currently at 96%. We had 7 open beds earlier on, but as of November 2nd, we have filled all those beds. So we're up to the 100% rate. We're working at getting more blanket warmers. We had a donation a few months ago to get a blanket warmer, and blanket warmers are really important to St. Lawrence Lodge for the residents. So we're looking at getting a blanket warmer for each home. And what I mean by home, there's different sections in St. Lawrence Lodge called elm and maple and pine. So that's considered different homes in St. Lawrence Lodge. We were in an outbreak like many other 8 facilities, long-term facilities in the local areas, but it's all cleared up, knock on wood for now. The library, things are thriving at the library. It seems to be a safe place to go for kids. And we've had lots of kids for story time on Friday mornings, about 15 kids and their caregivers or their grandparents. So lots going on there. And we have daily kids that are coming in using the computers. We kind of call them the biker gang because they all line up their bicycles at the front. We got to get a picture because it's absolutely amazing. They all line up their bikes at the front of the library, and our membership is going well. It's up. So things are going really well at the library. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Burton. That's awesome. One last chance if anyone remembers something that they want to say. No? Perfect. All right, we're going to get into 12. Ooh, you have quite a few staff reports, 7 staff reports tonight. So we'll start off with our favorite, the budget process. So item 12.1 is staff report 71-2023, 2024, budget process from CIO Treasurer Matthew Armstrong. I'm just going to read the recommendation. The council approved the 2024 operational and project budget process as outlined in staff report 71-2023. Can I have a mover and seconder for discussion? Councilor Burton, movement, seconded by Deputy Mayor Kirkby. Matthew.
Thank you very much. So largely based on last year's process. And so at the next meeting of council, if it's approved, we'll go through what we know so far in terms of cost increases, revenue, those types of things. Followed by December 11th, we would review health and social services. Then right after Christmas, coming back and doing administration and protective services. Later in January, focusing on transportation, parks and recreation. February, the first meeting, environmental, water and wastewater, as well as planning and development. And then finally, in February 20th, looking at revenue fees, property taxes, and then kind of bring it all together, see where we are. And then March 4th, taking a look and seeing how it compares to our strategic plan as well as our other plans and whatnot. Then when we flip over to the projects budget, starting Wednesday through January 2nd, council can submit any ideas that they might have to myself and Jessica. We'll put those together. Back to January 16th, I believe, or sorry, January 15th, to take a look at that initial list. Between now and then, on our next meeting, we'll take a look at some of the key infrastructure projects. Really for next year, the only large one that we have on our plate that is new is EDOC. And so taking a look and continuing along those. We know we already have the water tower that's expected to be completed next fall, as well as phase 2 of the rec complex. So those are the three that we would look at for next year. And but then I'll also talk about what the following year looks like in terms of East Street and some other projects. So then on December 4th, taking a look and seeing if you wish to move forward with the EDOC so that we can get the tender out. Then on the 15th, review that initial list. Then for the next couple of weeks, taking your top priorities from that initial list and just identifying those so we can come back on February 20th with a more complete prioritized list. Again, March 4th, taking a look at that, comparing it to the operational budget and just seeing if there's anything that we need to adjust and tweak. So that's how we currently kind of see it, but more than happy to make any adjustments as council sees fit.
Any questions for CAO Matthew Armstrong?
Thank you.
Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Schenker. In this list, I know we've done it in the past, putting on the list things that we have not accomplished yet. And I think that's something that when you're writing out your list, that something that the council should consider of the things that we have not accomplished yet over the years. We have accomplished a lot, but there's probably some stragglers that we could clean up a little bit and consider those as well. I know everybody's thinking about everything else that they want to get done, but let's accomplish the things that we haven't yet.
So if it would be helpful, I can provide a list on Wednesday when I send out the initial email to just say, here's the things that we have already approved and perhaps haven't finished, as well as the list of things that didn't rise to in the priority list last year, but still remain on the list. So that way, at least it's a starting point, and then you can add from there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you, Matthew.
Councilor McConnell?
No, I'm good.
December 2nd, I'm sorry, number 2, December 11th, you're proposing a review of the health services and the social services budgets. That basically is United Counties. Are we going to have any quality information there on their budgets that Bruce could kick in on that would be worth discussing? We at least know where they're coming in at this point. I just received a report today from the United Counties to suggest where they're looking at. I'll have a conversation between now and then with the United Counties treasurer to determine what they're looking at for next year in terms of increases. Those tend to be the ones where we put in an escalating number and then we see where it goes from there. So those are kind of the easiest budgets that we have. And so at least we start off with a number and then we can adjust it as we move into March if we need to. Or if you'd like, we can certainly kind of push them off till after the new year.
Sorry, on that note, don't we usually go with numbers from the previous years? Like United Counties?
So we'd certainly, we know what the 23 budget is. We know what they're projecting for 23 at this point. And then we normally put in a CPI escalator of 2 or 3%. So at least it acts as a placeholder. And then usually we're not that far off unless you account 2023, in which case we were a little bit off. Previous years, though, we've been pretty much bang on.
Yeah. I have a meeting with Joint Services tomorrow, so we'll see where their budget process is. But their first budget last year came in at 19% increase. You know, was a little bit high, a little hefty there. So we'll find out. You were good? You have your hand up? Kind of?
Yeah, we'll go. So through you, Mayor Schenker, just on the project budget development timelines. So we have council and staff develop and submit project ideas. So these are not infrastructure ideas. These are just ideas for parkettes, for paving certain sections that aren't paved down by, is that what we're talking here?
Yeah, so absolutely any project outside of the major street projects. So, in the next couple of years, we might have to look at to replace some of the trucks, things like that. Not next year, but, it's something that we're going to have to think about because some of them are 2016s, 2017s, 2018s, and usually we can get about 10 years out of them, but it's hard to believe we're already at 2024.
So
But absolutely anything that's project related, then outside the operational budget.
right, and so that's, when we talk about trucks and stuff, I would assume that's in the operational.
No, we would do that as a capital project, and so that would be part of our things that we put forward as part of that list.
Pretty much a wish list, right?
List as well as some of the things that are have-tos or
Right.
like for instance, our loader is getting long in the tooth. We're so far having luck with being able to keep it going, but if we do have to consider that possibly in the next 5 years, we're going to have to replace the loader. For me, that's one of the things I'm going to put on for medium term type list. Certainly not for next year, but something we just need to keep in mind.
So I guess where I'm going with that, or this, is it possible to have a breakdown of, okay, I have an idea, or, okay, this is like an item that we kind of need to address, as far as maintenance or something like that, almost a staff maybe suggestion, and maybe, I don't know if that's appropriate to have it, is the project submitted by a counselor or is it submitted by a staff? And is there a part of there that you can add a little bit of details as to why we're submitting it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that I'd like to add to kind of the thing this year. Is not just the name of the title of it, but perhaps a little bit more explanation. So that way it gets us a better understanding. And my discussions with Mayor Shankar was that it would also be great if you could put, what you were thinking as a dollar amount beside it. So if you said we're going to repave X amount of trail, for you, is that a $15,000 project, an $80,000 project, or a $250,000 project? So just trying to give us an indication of, where your thinking is when you originally kind of put it forward. So that way we can kind of come back and give a little bit more details. So, I think the more details you can provide and the more details we can provide from our list, then I think that certainly helps create a more robust listing.
Perfect. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with that, right? Is I don't know the state of the trucks or the state of certain buildings. So if I see that and it's up on a staff there and it's on a project, to me, it probably because it needs to happen.
Right.
Versus.
And I mean, that might come from Nathan, right?
Right, yeah, no.
And so in particular, HVAC units. So we've gone through and we have a pretty good understanding of how many HVAC units we have. It is shocking. And then also looking at the age of them. So just on this building alone, we have 7 HVAC units of multiple tons. So when you go to replace those, you're looking at $15,000 to $20,000 each. So those are the types of things that we want to start to say, over the next 8 years, we would like to replace 1 per year. Now, maybe it's not going to be at this building, maybe it's at another building, and we'll evaluate based on need. Because there's some things that we can do to prolong life, but ultimately those are the types of things that we need to get to.
I thought we approved a couple HVACs last year.
We did.
Yeah. So one last.
And we still have 6 more.
One last one, surplus land, is that part of where we would bring this in?
Certainly, if there's something that you want us to, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Thank you, Matthew Armstrong. So I'm gonna just call the question. I just reading ahead.
To say favor.
Calling a favor, I don't need to call a favor.
Not yet.
I'll call the question, all in favor? Thank you, carried.
Call a friend.
What game is that?
Ask the audience.
I want to be a millionaire.
All right, 12.2 is staff report 72-2023. It's the 2024 council plans. This report is for information only and is from our clerk, Lindsay Valcon. Ms. Valcon, would you like to speak to the report?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Through you, this report is just for housekeeping. It provides a little bit of background on the purpose for the committee and board appointments. The bylaw is coming before council later in this meeting for final discussion and approval by council. The report outlines different boards and committees of council as well as the external boards that require council representation. The bylaw also outlines the portfolio chairs for members of council. These are the same chairs that were approved last year. The portfolios include finance and corporate services, which is represented by Councillor Lockett, operations represented by Councillor Kirkby, economic development and tourism represented by Councillor Young, water, wastewater, capital and projects, which is Councillor McConnell, protective services, Councillor Campbell, and community services, Councillor Burton. In the report, I made note that in 2024, staff would like to actively meet with portfolio chairs to review items and provide members with updates within their portfolio. As a suggestion, this information could be shared during the round portion, during council agendas under outside boards, committees, and commissions that we just kind of went through. And in that way, members of council could update other members on what's happening within their portfolios to provide updates. So,
Great.
I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions for Ms. Valcon? Was that hand up or no?
No, no.
I'm like an auctioneer, you know, I see him twitching.
Put your hand down.
I'm always spinning my pen.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Valcon. Okay, item 12.3 is staff report 73-2023. Additional residential units. This report again is for information only, so it's brought to you by Matthew Armstrong.
So we had a couple of council members ask about additional residential units, what the regulations were, that sort of thing. So in section 35.1, which is fairly new of the Planning Act, made some changes where if you have a residential, a detached or semi-detached or row house on a parcel of land, you can have 3 residents in the house and 1 outside for a total of 4, I believe. And then in terms of an additional 2 in the house plus 1 outside. So they also passed some regulations around parking that regardless of what the town's bylaw says, that we can only ask for 1 additional parking space per additional residential unit. At the same time, they made some changes and added regulation 299-19 for additional residential units. And again, that's where it provides the authority that provincial legislation usurps that of the town. So we went back, took a look at what our current bylaw provides for. And in 2018, there was a change made to add for 1 additional residential unit. Since that has, at that point, were called secondary suites. And then subsequent to that, the province passed legislation. So in our new official plan, it matches much more closely to the regulation and the new stipulations by the province. But that's not in force until it's approved by the province and we change our zoning bylaw. But so again, we still have to defer back to what the province passed. So I'm more than happy to try and answer any questions there might be, but just tried to provide a little bit of the information and the background on additional residential units.
Thank you, Matthew. Questions, Councillor Kirkby?
Would be Councillor McConnell. I thought you'd have your hand up first. Matthew, I sent you some questions which you answered on this. Currently, we have to have a parking space per resident, right? So if you have a duplex, you have to have 2 spots, right?
Yes, and so
It'd be 1, but they have to have.
right. So for a single, I'd have to go back and take a look at our zoning bylaw, but it stipulates the number that you require for each resident of your house, that sort of thing. Then it adds 1 additional per secondary unit.
Right, and so under the province now, that we could use the new development on George Street. No, it's not George, West, thank you. it could, in theory, have two spots, but four residential dwellings there.
No, it would be an additional spot for each additional residential unit. So in that, and this doesn't apply to duplexes, this applies to semi-detached. And that particular lot was split in half and it has become a semi-detached. Then, so that you have one for the initial semi-detached and one for each additional residential unit. So in that particular case, I believe there is going to be one base residential unit and one additional residential unit, causing each side to have two parking spaces.
Spots that pass through? Is that, the parking spots will be passed through or will they be side by side?
I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to go back and take a look at the plans, but.
I mean, my worry is, I understand that we're in a housing crisis, but you could in theory have a bunch of driveways popping up or a bunch of people parking on the street. I guess our bylaw would still, so November 1st, go ahead.
Still have to provide one additional parking space per additional residential unit. So it doesn't allow them to just park on the street.
I guess I read that wrong. I thought that the provincial regulations.
So that would only be in the downtown area. So if your bylaw currently says that you don't need off-street parking, and I believe some of our downtown area has that in the zoning bylaw, that you can't now go back and force additional parking units. But anywhere outside that required you to have parking spaces, you can now demand additional parking spaces, one per unit.
Perfect.
Anyone else? Councillor McConnell?
You did beat me to this one, and we are on the same trail with this. And it is the house on West Street that's being built that was bounced off us as a semi-detached, I believe, and which is being built as a 4-unit. And it's being built that way from scratch. It's a difference when you have somebody, well, we have two semi-detached that were recently built on St. Lawrence Street, on the corner of St. Lawrence and Jessup, and they were built as semi-detached. And if somebody wanted to finish a basement in one of those houses, excuse me, that's basically what they want to do. But that one is being built as a 4-unit. And in addition to what Justin mentioned here about the parking, and in all honesty, I would like to see it come back to council with the actual requirement here, because I'm in the same position as he is. My belief is that, or was that, a semi-detached still require 2 parking spots. So that would be 2 for each side and 1 each for the lower basement suites, which means 6 parking spots, and there is no room for 6 parking spots across the front of that lot. It's smaller than normal as it is. The other part that I noticed is that the secondary suite has to be, shall not exceed 40% of the gross floor area of the primary dwelling. And in the particular case of that building, I would like to be ensured that it does not and become larger than that 40%. And number H, unfortunately, does not apply to this building because it is a brand new building, but I think the idea should apply to it. Here it says new entrances for a secondary suite in an existing dwelling unit shall not be permitted on the front main wall of the main building facing the public road. And the whole front of this is essentially doors. It's 4 black doors, which is not, I think, the intent of this thing. It's a loophole that these folks have taken advantage of. And it's an advantage that I don't want to see go down the road, because I don't think it's very attractive, and I think you would agree with me. So the parking issue, the 40% issue for the downstairs and the, well, the doors, according to that, they can do it, but I don't think should be allowed to. And I realize that this is not our building department that's letting this stuff go. It's coming from the province. But I would like a little closer report, like I said, on the exact patients. I realize that our man in that department is not here tonight, but I'm sure he'd be happy to look into it and get back to us at a future date. Thank you, Mayor Shankar.
Thank you, Councillor McConnell. Councillor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. So Matthew, is it suffice to say that what the province says goes? So there's no bylaw that we could even attempt to make to supersede that?
That's correct. They were very specific in how they wrote it, that we cannot pass a bylaw to supersede that.
Matthew, can I ask the question? Does it comply with their regulation?
Currently, yes, it does. It doesn't comply with our 40%, but it complies with their regulation at provincial level.
So, and as Councillor Young says, if it supersedes that, you know, is there any point in getting a report from Mr. Merriman?
It's up to council's wishes.
Okay, is there more? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Matthew, do you know how many public parking spots we have for winter parking?
I believe we have a total of 30 at the various areas. So we do at the Marina parking lot, as well as the Clock Tower parking lot, here at Town Hall, and at the Leo Boyfriend Community Center.
Or do you know where they usually all filled, or?
No, I don't think we had it completely filled last year. I know the Town Hall parking lot was quite popular. The Marina one was fairly popular, but certainly not anywhere near capacity. And there was not that many at the Leo.
So that's good to know there are additional spaces available.
And just for the benefit of the public, what do we charge for a permit?
I believe it's between $30 and $40 per month.
Crazy, no, she's getting one.
Sorry, am I stealing your thunder?
6 months, it's $282.50.
Thank you for your support.
$7 per month.
Sorry, I probably stole that from you. Any other questions? Councillor Young, any other questions?
No, that's great, thank you.
Anyone else? That's just your pen, right?
No, I'm calling. Through you, Mayor Shankar. The one thing, I believe it is, I was reading this, is the additional residential units, they also require, so these can be detached, right? From the main.
So you can only have one
Detached, which they need a walkway or some form of path to that dwelling, is my understanding, or a driveway to it.
Not necessarily a driveway, but certainly a walkway.
A walkway. And the driveway, is my understanding, is currently you could have a driveway in front of your house, but put an additional driveway on the side, if room allowed for it, pathway.
I don't think we have any rules against it, but I have to go through the zoning bylaw.
I just start thinking of all these houses that could be converted into additional residential spaces, and there may not be an appetite here in Prescott by current residents, but there may be by outside forces that quickly change the shape of neighborhoods. I don't know what power we have. I know we need housing, but at the same time, some of these changes seem a little much for Prescott. I guess that's all I would caution. This could change the landscape of subdivisions. You could have additional driveways or pathways beside your house.
That might be difficult, but we'll see.
Anyways.
All right, thank you, Mr. Armstrong. No further questions? I see, okay, good. 12.4 is staff report 74-2023. It is the 2024 Ontario Municipal Partnership Funding. Again, this is for information only. And Matthew, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So, very long story short, the Municipal Property Partnership Fund is a grant amount that is applicable to municipalities that face certain socioeconomic and financial factors based on their population, based on their location, things like that. So for the town of Prescott, the amount is going up by 9,300 in 2024 from 2023 to a total of $1,597,700. I did provide all of the details in terms of how that breaks down, also providing a show of what it was compared from 2023 to 2024. But a couple of things I did want to point out is that there were 32 more households in what will be the basis for 2024. So in 2023, there was 32 more than there was in the previous year. And that is what we're seeing from a lot of the additional residential units in the downtown, the first floor commercial, as well as some of the semis that have been done and additional residential units. Also the one item is the transitional grant that guarantees 100% of the previous year. We were able to go through that transitional, so it's not part of the calculation anymore. And then if there's further growth as we go into 2025, then we earn additional dollars on that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any questions for Mr. Armstrong on this report? Good news is we're getting $9,300. All right, thank you, Matthew. We're going to move on to staff report 75-2023. It's a Christmas town hall closure. I have a recommendation that reads the council approve the closure of the town hall office on Friday, December 22nd at 12 p.m. with a return to regular hours and services on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. I have a mover and seconder for discussion. Councillor Burton, Councillor Lockett. Any discussion on this item? Councillor McConnell?
I think it should just be made clear that this doesn't affect the public works staff, though. Our public works staff at that time period are still going to be available if we have snow or ice or whatever, they're on the job.
No, we're just going to let it build up. We're good for that around here.
You never know. People think.
Now, those guys work hard and rain or shine and snow, they'll be there. They're like the UPS. Okay, any other questions? No? All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, 12.6 is a new item to add here. It's staff report 76-2023, the CAO's report for November. Oh, in November.
As of today.
Up to November, how's that? Matthew, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So just wanted to hit a couple of the highlights from the report. So the Land Chartrand Community Center is now starting today, open at 2 o'clock. That was posted this morning and quite a bit of positive feedback from that on social media. Our rental for ICE revenue in September was a little over 28,000. In October, it was just shy of 39,000. So that's pretty much right on budget where we expect it to be. So that's good news. Community and fitness rooms are generating inquiries and are available to be booked. Just a couple of things. The transition for the walking track, I believe, was completed last Friday. So that is good. It's just a little bit of a ramp up and on either side of the track so that people don't trip and that sort of thing. The dividing wall is supposed to arrive by the end of November and be installed, as well as the blinds are to be delivered in November as well. Touching on the water tower, obviously foundation is complete and they've done the first lift. They're now moving on to the second and third lift, and that will both basically be the process for the next several weeks. Is that they'll complete a lift, they remove the forms, attach it to the next part, do the next lift, and so they'll keep going up in sequence. and that's moving along fairly well. Bridge rehabilitation, we are now done the work underneath the bridge. Replacing the bearings, starting this week, there'll be single lane closures on top of the bridge. So we expect for about the next week and a half that half the bridge will be closed on one side and then the other half, and that's so that they can complete the expansion joints. 24 strategic plan, just in terms of next steps. So I did include the notes from that day in terms of the stickies that we ended up on with at the end of the day. And so we're now taking those, starting to write the plan. We'll hope to bring it back for December 11th for an initial review by council. We're want to make sure that you have enough time to read it over, provide feedback. So that's why we're doing it just before Christmas, so you can, I'm sure, be riveted to it during the holiday season. And then provide some feedback in January. Once we get that feedback, we'll bring it back again, see if we're on the right track. And then if we are on the right track, then council can decide how they want to elicit public feedback. So that's kind of how we see the next few weeks rolling out for that. And then just as a couple of future events, so Remembrance Days on November 11th, that will be at the Cenotaph. Immediately following Remembrance Day, our town crews will be working on flipping over the downtown decorating into the holiday season. Light Up the Night Parade will be on the 17th of November. Tree lighting ceremony, and I think it was referred to earlier with the Riverwalk Wonderland, is that we pair those two things together, and so being able to do that. So and then just provide a couple of other in that report. So hopefully this is helpful for council as well as the public, and more than happy to modify it as I move forward or change it up how you need additional information.
Councilor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shanker. I just wanted to make a couple notes. I mean, social media is a big thing. There's been a lot of talk about the overpass, the bridge. One thing I don't think people at home, or a bunch of them, didn't understand is that the work was actually happening underneath, the majority of it. And then the other part that I don't think anybody understands was the difficulty dealing with CN to get them aligned, to provide the flaggers, having to abide by their rules, and having days where, you know, work was planned and there was nobody there to allow the work to happen. So just for the millions of people watching at home, sometimes these kind of projects are out of the town's hands. And if you're frustrated by it, ask the question and find out the right people to be frustrated at times. The other one I would ask is the walking track is now open at 2, but I think I read that it'll open earlier later on. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely. So I think what a lot of people don't realize is that our park staff who do run the arena are also still working in the parks, doing leaf, doing the gardens, all of those types of things. So basically when the first snowfalls comes, they transition more over to that, and then we'll be able to open a net for a longer period in during the day. So certainly when we get towards end of November, early December, we plan on having it open in the morning as well, and for track use.
Last one. Thank you, Matthew, by the way. The Light Up the Night Parade and the tree lighting celebration. So the tree lighting is moving down to the pop-ups, to the Winter Wonderland, which I like, by the way, that's great. The question is, the current tree that sits in the parking lot, the town parking lot, that has electrical running right to it, does it not?
So our intention is to absolutely have that running. The question is, do you want to light it before the tree lighting ceremony, which is, we try to align with beginning of December and that purchasing season, or or do we want to have it beforehand and that sort of thing. So either way, I'm more than happy to oblige, but yeah.
No, it's
Maybe just for that night, for the parade night, have it on?
Yeah.
if it doesn't take away from the other.
I think if it's just one night, right?
Yeah.
I think that would work.
Nice tree.
Nice.
You good? Councilor Burton?
I just want to thank Matthew for this really extensive update. I think it's really important. I think 90% of us sitting around the table work full-time and not necessarily be able to pop in and have a conversation with Matthew and staff on a regular basis. Great ideas. I love the idea of lighting the tree for the parade. I think that's important because people are just getting into that Christmas spirit and people are wearing their Santa hats and stuff, and it's a good idea. Also, the mini tulip festival, Mr. Matthew didn't speak of that, but I'm just super excited that we planted 5,000 tulip bulbs around town. There's 1,000 at Town Hall and 4,000 at the Riverwalk Park and the Marina area. How fantastic is this going to be in the spring? Right? Nobody needs to go to the Ottawa Tulip Festival because we have it here in Prescott, right?
Yeah, I think when Phil brought this forward, Phil Burton, he said, what do you think of the idea? And I'm like, great. We can get a great beginning to the season, to that tourist season, and I think it'll be something that we can build on and go from there.
I think it's an excellent idea, and anyways, I'm super excited to see all these tulips.
Just one little question. So the new tree lighting, do we have power there, or how is that going to work?
Which one at the
At the
pop-ups?
pop-ups?
Yep.
Absolutely. It's fully equipped with power. We'll have to run a cord from the power panel, but it'll be covered for safety purposes.
Is that gonna be permanent, or is this just something we're trying?
Just thought on a lark, it might be nice this year to combine it with the Winter Wonderland. If it's really successful, then I would anticipate, we would probably recommend that it carry forward and that become the new permanent home for the tree. And then at that point, bring in some of those logistics to fully support it. So we're not having to bring in portable power and things like that every year.
Councilor McConnell?
As long as we're on the tree, I'm a little unclear. Are we buying a new tree? Are we gonna have 2 large Christmas trees that we're lighting?
So we've sourced a live tree, like the city of New York, essentially. It will be cut and brought in and placed.
So it's a second tree, but it's not a
But
live.
it's not, yes, it is, it's a cut tree, so it's not something that will survive the
How big? How big?
Like kind of,
25 feet minimum,
Ooh,
yes.
That's exciting.
nice.
well,
Where?
we do have several pine trees already there that were donated by various funeral homes in town that have grown over the years. Maybe we light all those instead of buying a tree. Just a thought. One thing I wanted to ask or make a point about was the walking track. That is the most common question I get when I'm out walking down along the river. And it's always from the older folks in town. And I know it's on the website, but from the number of questions that I got asked, I think we have to do a better job of communicating to the public somehow when the track is actually open. It's on our website. Can we do something like just maybe a small flyer that we put up on the wall at the post office? Because everybody goes to the post office. Maybe at Tim Hortons, there's the odd person that goes in there, I understand.
Can't have signs.
Can it signs? Oh, gee.
You know what I was thinking of, Councilor?
Dr. Shankar's office, maybe on the main street, Irving H. Miller.
Drugstores.
Yeah.
The one thing I was wondering is if maybe we could get a little help from the fire department, and they have that interactive sign now,
That's a good
Excellent.
idea.
right?
Good idea.
Yeah, even like, someone was complaining they didn't know about the pumpkin parade on social media. And I'm like, I don't know what rock they live under, but whatever. So maybe we could use that. I know there was talk at one point about having an interactive sign on Highway 2. I don't know, is that gonna go back on my wish list?
No, so we've certainly explored some preliminary costs. We're looking at maybe adding something as part of the existing gateway signs. We could look at maybe doing something there. Kind of similar to the fire department sign, where they can post different custom messages. There's certainly an expense to it, but we've looked at it before, something that we're open to. The industrial park sign was another area that we thought of maybe installing something along those lines to provide some better.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the high school has a sign too, don't they? Do they have a sign that?
It's not that style,
No.
no.
I don't take my eyes off the road.
But anyway, to your point, maybe we can ask nicely of the fire department to put certain things like that up, Oh, wait, Matthew?
So a couple of little things. One, we can put a notice in the paper now that we've changed, and then we'll put another notice in the paper in December after we change again. And then with our tax bills, when we send them out in February, we'll certainly put in a portion there to highlight for people.
Very good.
At one time, in a previous council, I can't remember how far back now, but we discussed an advertising signs, buying one of those signs like the fire department has and selling advertising on it. It might be time to revisit that, and maybe the corner of Churchill Road and Edward, where you turn down to the rink, would be a good spot for it. Because when you're sitting there, waiting for the light to change, it would be an opportune. Because I mean, what we have there now is that sign with all the little, you can't really see it from the corner. Anyway, just a thought. I did have a couple other things, if I could, Mayor Shankar. The bridge rehabilitation, if I can direct this to Matthew, they're doing the expansion joints, or will be shortly. And I believe we were going to pave the top of that bridge after that was done. Are we still asphalting this fall?
That's the hope. It really depends on the weather at this point, but we're going to do our best efforts to get it paved.
And is there any other asphalting in town that we were intending to do that we were gonna tie in with that?
Unfortunately, this was going to be tied in with when they're replacing the joints themselves. And so all the other paving has been done at this point.
About the foot of Center Street at the water, which has been going to be done for several years and doesn't seem to make it.
So there's two things that we were looking at. One is the pathway that runs along there and reworking that, as well as kind of paving that area. We were just trying to figure out when the best time to do it, and we were running out of time for this year. The concern now is that you're supposed to have the 10 degrees above during the day and when you lay it, and it's going to be tricky between now and then to get it done.
And the last one, Mayor Shankar, you mentioned that the cost, because of the railroad track flagging, were higher. How much higher are we talking here?
We're in the neighborhood of about $100,000 just for.
More than we had figured.
So flagging is running us about $2,300 to $2,500 a day.
Geez, I wish I could get a job like that.
Probably can.
And we had trouble getting a flagger, right?
Correct.
That price.
So, and those are flaggers through CN. So CN charges us directly.
They pay.
Flagging, they make the determination whether flagging is required. And so there seems to be a little bit of a conflict of interest in that concept.
Okay.
Just don't pay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McConnell. Back to you.
Yeah, just on the CN thing again, I mean, it's almost,
Yeah.
we need to form some kind of resolution to send, to circulate. I mean, CN, it's almost a hindrance at times to have rail running through town. You know, we had 2 derailments in less than 10 years, you know? a lot of cleanup, bridge damage, and I don't think we ever came out on top for what we had no control over. And then, listen, I'm in the contracting, life. If the company that, if CN comes to me and says, I need a flagger, right? That price is gonna be, it's much higher than it would be to anybody else, that cost, right? And it would be interesting to see if they had 3 bids on it or 3 quotes. Are they approved vendors? You know what I mean? I just feel like you're held hostage to some of these crown corporations, and it's not fair. The other one, I just have a couple of quick ones, so that's one, because it kind of makes me angry a bit. The one about the track that I wanted to bring up is, one of the big questions I get is, what is the distance of the track?
I know this one.
Do you know it?
Yeah, 5 laps is a kilometer.
So I did the measurement the other day, but somebody did it for me actually while they were up there walking. But I wonder if maybe we get a little plaque or something. I think Cardinal has one. I think we're talking $25-30.
It's actually been added. We put some temporary signage there within the last week or so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then the last one that I had, kind of slipped my mind here. So wasn't the walking track, it wasn't CN.
Can I jump in while he's thinking?
Sure. Yeah.
So back to the track, that's why. So is this going to be something that's annually a problem? Like not opening until, or, because I get the same thing, like daily. And
Yes, so we reached out to some other municipalities and they're doing it very similar to how we're doing it, is that while the staff is in the parks and things like that, they have shortened hours, and then as we're able to free that up, then we go from there. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. We will do a better job of notifying people. But at the same time, we only have so much staff to go around, and because we're running 4 staff, but because now we're running over, I think, 16 hours on the weekends, it really does chew up a lot of the staff that we could have on during the week.
Good, sorry, wait, you're good? You're not good? Councilor McConnell?
That just occurred to me after Ruth spoke there, that we're encountering a situation that we've never encountered before, because when the Leo was operational, there was somebody there pretty much all the time. Now we're running the Leo, and we do have the mornings booked down there. We have people down there with pickleball and stuff, where we wouldn't have had other years. They'd have been at the rink. So we are stretching our staff thinner than we have.
I think we've just trained some new staff too, so I think having them alone at the rink wasn't recommended at first, right, until they're ready to be there alone. So we're doing our best, but it's getting done.
I like the idea of the fire hall though, because when people get their mail, they can see the sign. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think that's yeah,
Yeah, and I think they'd be open to that.
I do too.
Just a statement. On the signs, I believe the one in Brockville, the big sign,
Yeah.
I believe that's private. I believe the cost, I actually worked with a fella who pretty much bought the sign, and he does all the background work to it, right? I think there's a deal with the city where he doesn't pay anything, but the initial investment was over $100,000. And just, that's a private
business
that's running that.
We had a deal, that advertising sign. That was a private.
Anyways, I just thought I'd throw that in there while we're talking about big information signs and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. So are we gonna get one of these reports each meeting or every month?
We'll do our best to do each meeting. They might not be quite as long and as extensive, but certainly we'll try and get stuff on there.
I think it's good for the millions of people watching at home to see.
Millions.
That's good. Thank you for that. We're going to move on to 12.7, which is now staff reports 77-2023. We're getting up on those staff reports, which is good. Feedback required on market rental units reverting back to rent geared to income units in Prescott. It's for information only, and it's all yours, Matthew.
United Counties reached out and asked for feedback from the town of Prescott. If we go back a little bit in history, back in 2011, there was a request from the town of Prescott to the United Counties to perhaps divest themselves of some of the social units. Some of those have been sold over the years, as well as some have been moved to market rent. Now, with the change in the province of Ontario establishing an income and asset level, for people with rent geared to income, they require more units. And so they're requesting to put some of those units back from market rent into rent geared income. And I think over kind of as they move through attrition, that moving 10 of those units back. So just wanted to bring that before council, get some feedback, and so that we can pass that on to the United Counties for them to consider as they deliberate.
Very good. All right, you have a question?
Yeah, it says, through you, Mayor Shanker, that there'll be a loss of revenue to the town with this change.
So loss of revenue to
Tax.
the United Counties,
Yes.
but not necessarily to the town.
So we won't lose the tax base.
Nope. So they pay the market value, property assessment, and property taxes for each of those. I think what they're looking at, and this was kind of written from their perspective, not ours, is instead of charging the market rate for those, that they'll now end up, because they'll be supplementing from the others, so.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. That was for information only, so thank you for that.
So just if I may, so is council generally in agreement with that concept?
Oh, yeah, feedback. I don't see any objection. Oh, Councilor McConnell?
It's not an objection, it's maybe just a bit of historical information. 4 terms ago, council decided that the quantity of social housing units in Prescott was excessive for the population that we had, that they be more fairly distributed throughout Granville County. And since that time, Kempful has taken on more, Brockville has taken on more, and that's allowed them to divest themselves, or at least bring these up to market value in town. And quite honestly, I don't disagree. I agree with that at the time. I still agree with it.
Anyone else? Thank you. All right. Moving on, we have 13. There are no resolutions tonight. 14 is bylaw, which we discussed earlier, but I'm going to read it. That bylaw 45-2023, being a bylaw to appoint members of council to boards and commissions, to appoint members of council to the committees of council, and appointments of deputy mayor for the remainder of 2023 and the year 2024 be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. I have a mover and seconder for this. Moved by Councillor Burton, seconded by Councillor Young. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. 15 is new business. Is there any new business? No? New business is coming, no? Okay. 16 is notices of motion, which there are none, and amazingly, there's no mayor's proclamations tonight. Usually have 3 or 4 of them at a time. Thanks. Any media online? What? Jeez. Okay, 19, item 19 is closed session. So the recommended motion reads that council move into closed session at 7:21 PM to discuss matters pertaining to approval of closed session minutes from October 3rd and committee and board appointments under section 239 2B of the Municipal Act, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and that the CAO treasurer, clerk, economic development officer, and deputy clerk remain in the room. Not you. Just kidding. I didn't see your name on the list. Madam Mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Lockett, second by Mayor Kirkby. Thank you, sir.
Coming.
Any discussion on this? No? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.